She was obsessed with you when you barely knew her name. Remember that? When you'd drop one text and she'd write paragraphs back? When you'd say 3 words at the party and she'd analyze them for days with her friends? When your silence was mysterious and your attention was currency? Now you text her good morning, good night, and everything in between, and she takes 6 hours to send back a thumbs up emoji. Here's the brutal truth that'll reshape how you see every interaction. Women are only nice to men who don't give them enough words to build contempt. The less you say, the more she imagines. The less you reveal, the more she projects her fantasies onto you. The less available you make your thoughts, the more valuable they become. But the second you start talking, really talking, you're handing her ammunition to destroy the mystery she created about you. Watch the pattern in every relationship you've had. Beginning, you're quiet. She's intrigued. She's chasing. She's sweet. She's feminine. She's respectful. Middle, you open up. Start sharing. Start explaining yourself. End, she's cold. She's distant. She's disrespectful. She's gone. You thought you were building intimacy through communication. You actually dismantling attraction through disclosure. Women don't fall in love with who you are. They fall in love with who they think you are. And who they think you are is always more interesting than who you actually are. Your silence lets her write a story where you're the mysterious protagonist. Your words force her to face the reality that you're just another guy who overthinks, has insecurities, and worst of all, needs her validation through conversation. The respect evaporates the moment you become verbally available. When she can predict your response, when she knows your opinion on everything, when she can summon your attention with a text and get an instant paragraph back. You've become a utility, not a mystery. Your words went from being rare gems she collected to worthless pennies scattered everywhere. This dynamic destroys young men who don't understand the game because they're operating on Disney software in a dark psychology reality. You're 23, fresh out of college, making decent money, hitting the gym 5 days a week, and you think you figured it out. You've got the aesthetic physique, the entry-level BMW, the apartment downtown, the wardrobe you spent too much on. You walk into the bar thinking your looks and success speak for themselves. Then you open your mouth and watch your eyes glaze over as you explain your job, your workout routine, your 5-year plan, your investment portfolio. You genuinely believe that being attractive, successful, and charming means you should talk more, share more, connect more. You think conversation is how you display your value. You think she wants to know about your promotion, your thoughts on the market, your college stories, your family dynamics. You're performing a one-man show to an audience that left mentally after the first 5 minutes. The naivety is thinking women operate like men. You'd love if a hot girl talked to you for hours about her life, her thoughts, her dreams. So you project that onto her, assuming she wants the same verbal intimacy from you. But female attraction isn't built on information. It's built on imagination. The more you talk, the less she can imagine. The more you reveal, the less she can project. Watch how young guys torpedo their own success. They match with a girl way out of their league on the apps. She's interested because the photos show potential. The bio is minimal. The mystery is intact. First date, he's nervous. So, he talks and talks about his startup idea, his CrossFit times, his cryptocurrency holdings, his relationship with his mother. By dessert, she's checking her phone. By the goodbye, she's already decided there won't be a second date. You think your resume matters? That surely talking about achievements builds attraction. Number. These things only matter as a foundation that's assumed, not discussed. She should sense your success, not hear about it. She should feel your confidence, not listen to you try to verbally construct it. Your value should be implied through presence, not explained through words. The final naivety is believing that status and money compensate for verbal diarrhea. You think because you're good-looking or wealthy, you've earned the right to monopolize conversations. But watch what happens. She'll you once for your looks, maybe twice for your money, but she'll never respect you if you can't shut up. And without respect, you're just a temporary entertainment or walking ATM that talks too much. What young men fail to grasp is that they're fighting 10,000 years of evolution with their conversation skills, and evolution doesn't give a inchi about your personality. In the ancestral environment, the men who survived weren't the ones explaining their feelings around the campfire. They were the ones who acted, hunted, protected, and shut the cows up. The talkers got killed by predators they were too busy discussing to notice. Natural selection already decided. Silent competence beats verbal intelligence. Female nature is wired to test, not to connect. Every question she asks isn't seeking information, it's seeking weakness. What are you thinking about? Isn't curiosity, it's reconnaissance. Tell me about your ex isn't bonding, it's intelligence gathering. Why don't you ever open up? Isn't caring, it's probing for soft spots. And you, in your ignorance of nature, answer honestly, thoroughly, completely, handing her a detailed map of every insecurity and vulnerability you possess. Her brain is constantly running a background program that evaluates your genetic fitness through your behavior. When you talk too much, you're signaling anxiety. When you over-explain, you're signaling low status. When you seek verbal validation, you're signaling weakness. These aren't conscious thoughts she's having. They're biological responses that happen faster than rational thought. By the time her conscious mind catches up, she's already lost attraction and doesn't even know why. The mistake men make is thinking human interaction is about exchanging information. You think conversation is collaboration, building something together through words. But female nature experiences conversation as hierarchy establishment. Who talks more is lower status. Who needs validation is weaker. Who explains themselves is subordinate. Every word you speak is potentially lowering your position, and you're chattering yourself right out of her respect. Nature designed women to be attracted to outcomes, not processes. She doesn't need to know how you built your business, just that you built it. She doesn't need to hear about your struggles, just that you overcame them. She doesn't need your thoughts on everything, just your decisions on what matters. But you're giving her the whole behind-the-scenes documentary when she just wanted to see the finished film. This biological programming directly determines your perceived status, and the CEO doesn't explain himself to the intern. The king doesn't justify his decisions to the peasants. The alpha doesn't seek approval from the pack. Yet here you are explaining why you didn't text back fast enough, justifying your plans with friends, seeking her approval for decisions you've already made. Every explanation is a status surrender. Every justification is a rank reduction. Every word beyond necessity is announcing that you're beneath her. Your perceived status isn't built on what you have, it's built on what you don't give. When you're verbally unavailable, she assumes it's because you have more important things to do than talk to her. When you're mysterious, she assumes it's because you have depths worth exploring. When you're silent, she assumes it's because you're confident enough not to need her validation. But the moment you start talking too much, you reveal the truth. You have nothing better to do than seek her approval through conversation. Watch how her behavior changes based on your verbal availability. When you take hours to respond with 2 words, she writes paragraphs analyzing what you meant. When you immediately respond with paragraphs, she takes days to send back K. This isn't game playing, it's status economics. Scarcity creates value, abundance creates indifference. Your words are currency, and you're causing hyperinflation by printing too much. High-status men don't have time for lengthy conversations about feelings, relationships, or where things are going. They're too busy building empires, solving problems, creating value. Their communication is efficient, purposeful, decisive. Yes, no. Be ready at 8. I'll handle it. Meanwhile, you're sending voice messages about your day, asking her opinion on what you should wear, discussing your anxiety about the upcoming presentation. She measures your status by how much you don't need her, and every excessive word screams neediness. The man who talks for hours has hours to waste. The man who explains everything needs understanding. The man who shares constantly requires validation. In her mind, high V-value men don't have time for this. They're too busy being valuable to verbally vomit their entire existence onto someone. This status calculation happens instantly through your accessibility. A man who's always accessible isn't busy building anything worth accessing. If she can reach you 24/7, get instant responses, and summon your attention on demand. What exactly are you doing with your life that's so unimportant it can be interrupted by her every random thought? Your constant availability isn't showing love. It's showing you have nothing going on. The most attractive men are ghosts with occasional appearances. They surface unpredictably, make an impact, then disappear back into whatever important eyes they're doing. Their phones are tools, not leashes. Their attention is a gift, not a given. When they finally respond, it matters because it's rare. When you respond instantly every time, it's worthless because it's guaranteed. She doesn't want the man she can have constant access to. She wants the man other women are trying to access. When you're always available to her, she knows you're available to nobody else important. When you answer her calls on the first ring, she knows nobody else is calling. When you text back immediately, she knows your phone isn't blowing up with other options. Your accessibility is advertising your lack of demand. Think about anything valuable in her life. It's scarce. The designer bag she wanted had a wait list. The restaurant she loves requires reservations weeks out. The career position she fought for had hundreds of applicants. But you, your Amazon Prime, instant delivery, always in stock, no effort required. And just like everything else that's too easy to get, she takes you for granted. Your overcommunication isn't just lowering your value. It's actively destroying mystery, which is the engine of female desire. Every text explains away intrigue. Every call removes questions she could be asking herself. Every voice note replaces fantasy with mundane reality. You're giving her a 24/7 documentary of your life when she wanted to wander about the highlights. The high-V value man's communication pattern is feast or famine. Nothing for days, then suddenly he appears, makes decisive plans, executes them, and disappears again. She never knows when he'll surface, but when he does, it's purposeful. He's not texting wit at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. He's saying, dinner, Friday, 8 p.m. Wear something nice, then silence until Friday. She spends the week wondering, anticipating, preparing. You spend the week texting her updates about your lunch. This scarcity principle collides with male logic because unlike every other area of your life, more effort equals worse results with women. More hours at the gym, bigger muscles, more time studying, better grades, more work on your business, more money. But with women, communication operates on inverse returns. The more effort you put in, the less attraction you get out. You're applying success logic to a game that rewards strategic failure. Your first text to her got analyzed for 20 minutes with her friends. Your second got a smile. Your 10th got a glance. Your 50th got ignored. Now you're writing paragraphs that she swipes away like notification spam. You tripled your investment and got negative returns. You're the only investor who doesn't understand that this stock is crashing because you keep buying. The effort paradox. Oh, with your male brain, because you're wired to solve problems through increased input. Relationship feels distant. Talk more. She seems uninterested. Share deeper. Connection fading. Communicate better. But every additional word is another shovel of dirt on attraction's grave. You're literally talking her out of loving you while trying to talk her into it. The diminishing returns accelerate because your effort signals desperation. The guy who writes paragraphs to get attention is advertising he has no other options demanding his words. The man who keeps conversation going despite dead responses is announcing he'll accept scraps. Your increased communication effort isn't showing love, it's showing low market value. Here's what makes it worse. The more you talk, the more mistakes you make. Every conversation is a minefield where saying too much triggers disgust. The guy who barely talks can't say the wrong thing. The guy who never shuts up eventually says everything wrong. Your effort to connect through words is just giving her more data points to find flaws, inconsistencies, and reasons to lose respect. Meanwhile, you're destroying actual status indicators that could work in your favor. Your Rolex speaks louder than your mouth ever could. Your physique tells a better story than your words. The other women you at the bar, communicate more value than any conversation. Status indicators work precisely because they don't require explanation. They simply exist and let her imagination fill in the blanks with something far more impressive than reality. The tragedy is watching men acquire status indicators, then destroy their power through explanation. You spent years building the business, getting jacked, developing your network. Then you ruin it all by explaining how hard it was, how much you sacrificed, how difficult the journey was. She doesn't want your struggle story. She wants the mystery of effortless success. Your explanations transform you from enigmatic winner to try hard who needs validation. Confidence isn't telling her you're confident. It's being so secure you don't need to mention it. Social proof isn't explaining your friendships. It's other people approaching you while she watches. Pre-selection isn't talking about your ex-girlfriends. It's other women obviously wanting you while you're oblivious. Every status indicator works through demonstration, not explanation. And your mouth is turning demonstrations into desperate presentations. The highest status indicator is not needing to communicate your status. The truly successful don't explain their success. The genuinely confident don't discuss their confidence. The actually attractive don't verbalize their options. They exist at a level where these things are assumed, not announced. But you're out here giving TED Talks about why you're high value while she's mentally categorizing you with every other guy who talked his way out of her attraction. Understanding this dynamic reveals why distance works so powerfully. When you don't text her back for 6 hours, her imagination writes a novel. Maybe you're with another woman. Maybe you're closing $1 million deal. Maybe you're doing something dangerous and exciting. The reality that you're just napping doesn't matter. Her uncertainty creates a version of you that's infinitely more attractive than the real you, who usually responds in 30 seconds with updates about your sandwich. Distance works because it implies you have a life worth living without her. Every delayed response suggests other priorities. Every missed call hints at better options. Every day without contact indicates you're not thinking about her, which makes her obsess about you. The space between communications is where attraction actually grows, but you keep filling it with words that kill the mystery. Women are attracted to men whose attention is competed for, not freely given. When you're distant, she assumes it's because other things and other people require your presence. The guy who takes days to respond must have other women. The guy who responds instantly definitely doesn't. Your distance implies abundance. Your constant presence proves scarcity. The psychological mechanism is simple. Humans value what they might lose more than what they securely have. When you're distant, she's always slightly anxious about losing your attention to someone or something else. This anxiety creates excitement, which her brain misinterprets as attraction. When you're always available, there's no anxiety, no excitement, no attraction, just the boring security of knowing you'll always be there. Distance creates the push-pull dynamic that women's emotions need to stay engaged. When you pull away, she pushes forward. When you're silent, she seeks attention. When you're absent, she creates presence through thinking about you. But when you're constantly pushing forward with communication, she has nowhere to go but backward. You're smothering the fire with too much fuel instead of giving it the oxygen of space to burn. This principle levels the playing field for average men who understand it. You're 5'9", making 60 grand a year, driving a Honda Accord, and you think you're Ikoru, but the 6'3" investment banker who won't shut up about his Porsche is less attractive than you, being mysteriously quiet about your Accord? Silence is the only status symbol that doesn't require money, height, or genetics. Just discipline to shut your mouth. The average man's superpower is that mystery makes everything seem better than it is. When you don't talk about your job, she imagines it's more important. When you don't discuss your apartment, she assumes it's nicer. When you don't explain your weekend, she pictures something more exciting. Your ordinary life becomes extraordinary in her imagination, but only if you don't give her the mundane details that prove otherwise. Watch how verbal restraint transforms regular guys into intriguing men. The bartender who barely speaks becomes more attractive than the lawyer who explains his cases. The quiet mechanic gets more respect than the chatty surgeon. The mysterious nobody beats the transparent somebody every time because female attraction runs on imagination, not information. You don't need to be exceptional. You need to be exceptionally quiet about being average. Let her find out you're ordinary after. She's already invested, attracted, and emotionally hooked. By then, the fantasy version of you has already taken root in her mind, and reality becomes a minor disappointment rather than an immediate disqualification. This is the only arena where average men can compete equally with exceptional ones. Money talks, but silence pays better. Height is visible, but mystery is taller. Looks fade in conversation, but intrigue grows in quiet. You can't control your genetics. Your bank account might be limited, but your ability to shut up. That's free, immediate, and more powerful than anything you're lacking. Ignore these principles at your peril because the long-term consequences are relationship death. She filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. But the real reason was, you talked yourself out of her respect over 10,000 conversations. Every time you verbally processed your feelings, discussed your insecurities, or explained your decisions, you chipped away at the foundation of attraction. The marriage didn't die from one big betrayal. It was death by 1,000 words that slowly transformed you, from her man into her girlfriend with a penis. The affair started not when she met him, but when you became her emotional tampon who never shut up. While you were sending good morning texts, having deep conversations about the relationship, and sharing every thought that crossed your mind, she was fantasizing about the guy at work who barely acknowledges her existence. You were available 24/7. He was available never. You explained everything. He explained nothing. You talked. He acted. Guess who she's why in the Honda Civic during lunch breaks? Your constant availability didn't make her feel loved. It made her feel suffocated. Every text checking in, every call about nothing, every conversation about feelings was another bar in the prison she felt trapped in. She didn't cheat because she found someone better. She cheated because she found someone who gave her space to breathe, to wonder, to feel anything other than the crushing boredom of predictable communication from a man who had nothing better to do than talk to her. Watch the pattern in every dead bedroom. It starts with him sharing more, opening up, being vulnerable, communicating his needs. She encourages this at first, says she wants emotional intimacy. He delivers talking about his childhood, his fears, his dreams, his love for her. Slowly, sex decreases. He talks more to fix it. Sex stops entirely. He suggests counseling where he can talk even more. Her personal trainer, who grunts 3 words per session. The divorce papers are just paperwork for a relationship that died when you became verbally incontinent. She lost attraction when you started treating her like your therapist. She lost respect when you began seeking her approval for everything. She lost interest when your mystery evaporated into endless conversations about nothing. Over-communication doesn't just end relationships. It prevents them from starting. Every woman who ghosted you, who suddenly lost interest, who went from hot to cold, trace it back. You'll find the moment you switched from being mysterious to being an open book. The point where you went from intriguing to interviewing yourself. The conversation where you explained too much and created too little. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires fighting every instinct modern society programmed into you. Speak less than her. Always answer questions with questions. Be comfortable with silence. Make statements, not explanations. Leave conversations first. Respond hours later with fewer words. Be physically present but verbally absent. Let her wonder. Let her chase. Let her imagination build you into something you could never verbally construct. Your words are bullets. Use them sparingly and make them count. Every text, every call, every conversation is an opportunity to lose attraction, rarely to gain it. The less you say, the more she feels. The less you explain, the more she wonders. The less available you are, the more valuable you become. Stop talking your way out of her attraction. Stop explaining your way out of her respect. Stop communicating your way out of her life. The path to her desire isn't through her ears. It's through the silence that makes her imagination run wild. You want her obsessed, Become the ghost you can't stop thinking about, not the chatterbox she can't wait to escape.